still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah. If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, would you still amaze me? If I find my way home, yeah.
This is the movement for those who.
What we do here is go back.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Child of Mecha live stream. I am your host, Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha, and tonight we're going to be doing a Q&A session. So, ready your questions if you want answers to them. So, how this is going to work. Format, everybody. Format. So, if you have a question, make sure you type question, all caps, and then your question afterwards. And I will get to those in chronological order as best as I can. I'm going to hit up the questions that were asked previously on a bunch of different social media channels. I'm going to hit those up. There's a few of them. There's not too many, so we can get through those hopefully rather quickly. But then after that, we're going to hit up the chat questions and all that good stuff, and we're just going to knock them out. Just knock them out the box. But first, before we get into that, there's a few things obviously we have to handle, right? Rocking the Grim Reaper shirt tonight, so if you want one of those, you can hit up childofmecha.com, hit the store button at the top. You'll be transported to a wonderful world of Gunpla, filled with t-shirts and hats and bags and soon-to-be pillows and all that stuff. Hopefully I can get some time, probably tomorrow, maybe. Well, no, not tomorrow. Shit, tomorrow's booked. Sunday, hopefully, to work on those pillows and get those up in the store. Because I know I've been talking about those for a while. I know you guys have been asking about them too. So we're going to get that situated. Hopefully Sunday, get a few of those up there for you guys to take a look at and purchase if you would like. I don't know. But, okay, so next thing, obviously, I don't know if we're going to be doing any work tonight. I don't know. It depends on the volume of questions, right? And how quickly we can move through those. But if you want to see the tools and stuff like that I work with, hit up the little Amazon link just below, or hit up, nope, wrong side again, hit up the description over here on Facebook. You're going to find an Amazon link, and all the tools and stuff that I use are going to be on there. The books and stuff like that we review are going to be on there, and then the streaming gear that we use to make this happen, make Gunpla Talk happen. All that stuff's going to be on there. So it's a good time. It's a good time. And I want to show you guys a couple things that I got today from Amazon. So we talked about it on the last stream, got them in today, and I'm super happy with them. But before we do that, I need to mention this. Booyah! That bad boy. Win this guy. You can win this model, that very model. Enter, or I should say donate, to the Gunpla Talk fundraiser and giveaway. One lucky donor will win that very model. 6 others will win those cute little resin busts from Paint Pusher, Mr. When I'm On. And then a few more are going to win some fabulous prizes from our friend Ace Schultz, Berkanatir on Facebook. For those of you playing at home, he's sending us a P Bandai Polypod to give away, and some BMC chisels and some other cool stuff. So we're going to be giving all that stuff away. So big ups to Berkana Ace Schultz. I know he's in the chat. He says, "Hey everyone." So thank you, B. I appreciate that. If you are interested in getting any sort of P Bandai merchandise, hard to find stuff, or just stuff in general, hit him up. He's a good dude. He's got connections everywhere. Very trustworthy. I've ordered a bunch of stuff through him. I've got what do I have ordered right now? The Gundam Stormbringer. Yeah, I got the Gundam Stormbringer pre-ordered through Ace / Berkana. Man, you got to get those names straight, man. So yeah, hit up his page on Facebook. It's a Gundam Sales. Really, really, really good stuff there. So I can't say enough good about him, right? So hit that up. So let's see what else. GoFundMe.com/Gunpla Talk. That's where you can find the donation page. One lucky donor is going to win that model, and obviously we talked about the other prizes too, but go hit that up, donate, because it goes to a good charity. It goes to the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. Wonderful charity. We're going to be giving all the money to them. That's going to go straight to them. And it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. So we're going to run it one more month because we've got this influx of new prizes and stuff from these wonderful guys, Mr. Wynn and Mr. Berkana over there. So we're going to run it one more month. The ending will be next month, next month's Gunpla Talk. We got a new show coming tomorrow. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow morning. That'll be a lot of fun. And so yeah, so get on that too. That'll be cool. All right, so real quick, guys, we're gonna review a book here, so just bear with me. But man, this came in today. This was the cutting mat that I was talking about. I haven't opened it, obviously. So it's like dark gray on one side, light gray on the other, corresponding, alternating little squares and everything there. 18 by 24, man. And like I said, this was under $10 for an 18 by 24 cutting mat. And I think it's still, if I'm not mistaken, $9.90 on Amazon right now. So if you're in the market for a cutting mat, hit up that Amazon link and go buy you one, because it's super, super value. So well worth it. So well worth it. Paulie says, damn, bro, that thing is a cutting poster. Yeah, this thing is, like I said, it's 18 inches. Well, 18 inches this way, 24 inches this way. It's big, guys. It's big. So go get that. And then also I got these. I got this stack of sanding paper today. And I think this was like $13. And this ranges from, I believe, 400 grit to, I think, 2,500 or 3,000. I can't remember which. But there's basically 10 sheets each of all of the different levels of sanding paper. I mean, look at all you get there. That's a lot of sanding paper for 13 bucks, you guys. And the variety. And it's pretty good, too. I mean, it's sandpaper. It's probably some sort of Chinese version. It's Dolly Bao. I don't know. Dolly Bao. Anyway, it's probably Chinese. I don't care, as long as it gets the job done, right? So, another good value there, too. So I was super happy with all that stuff that I got in the mail today. So, really, really cool. So, without further ado, let's take a look at our book, shall we? Wasn't in position to do that, but let's get over to camera 2, and bada boom. So, some of you may have seen this book before. This is the Nomoken book, series of books, and I think there's like 3, maybe 4. This is Nomoken number 1, and basically what this is, it's almost like a catalog. I mean, you can't buy anything out of this, but it goes through the different tools and different materials and paints and all sorts of stuff. And this is really kind of an interesting book. It's not a modeling book per se, although it does give you some techniques that you can utilize. But this more or less shows you what kind of products are out there, and then some typical usages of some of those products. Not all of them, or else this book would be 5 times as thick as it is. But very worth it, I think. Very worth it. So you guys are all zoomed out. Yep, we're looking good. All right, so let's get started here. So obviously the first thing that this starts with is going to be the first thing that you're probably going to need when modeling, right? A good hobby knife. This just goes through all sorts of stuff. Now these look like more utility knives. You see the standard Olfa utility knife here that we're all familiar with, that we all really, really love. You got the Tamiya, you know, kind of reverse angle knife there too. And then you've got, you know, plastic cutters and things, circle cutters. And we're not going to spend too much time on this because I know there's a lot of questions. And you've got the traditional hobby knives here, which are really, you know, pretty straightforward, really, right? And let's get through this pretty quick. Your different saws. Look at that. You guys know what that is. That's my favorite. The chopper. The chopper. And then also, right there, that's an ultrasonic cutter for those of you playing at home. That's like a $400 piece of machinery, but it cuts through plastic like butter, from what I've heard. My good friend Jim in Boo over there on Gunpla actually has one. And yeah, he says it's like a hot knife through butter cutting plastic, even like 1 millimeter plastic too. That's crazy. So, and then you got all your nippers and stuff. You got different scissors, pliers and things. You've got your hand drills, your pin vices and things like that. Different hole cutters, punches, files, and sandpaper, like we were talking about a few seconds ago. You got your tweezers, and then your kind of electric hand drills and things, your rotary tools, bits, all that good stuff here. Let's get through this pretty quickly. Some other, you know, some other electric tools, chisels, all that good stuff. Obviously, this is all in Japanese. You don't need to know Japanese to get value from this book, simply because there are a ton of pictures, right? You've got your adhesives, your glues, and all that good stuff. You've got your plastic sheets, and then you've got your plastic shapes, your extruded shapes, your bars, your rods, your strips, your different style beams and sheets and all that good stuff here. And then it kind of gets into different option parts and things too, which is really cool. and gets into your putties, like light curing putty. Probably not many of you have seen light curing putty. I've actually seen it firsthand, and it trust me, it works. You spread this on, you hold it under a light for 30-40 seconds, rock hard. So yeah, it's an interesting material. I honestly like a little bit more room for error with putties and stuff like that. So yeah. So, and then you got your different epoxy putties and things like that. You've got your good old Tamiya epoxy putty, quick type. You've got the smooth surface. You've got Magic Sculpt over here, which I've used before. That's also pretty decent. All sorts of stuff there. And then you get into primers and sprays and stuff like that. And then it starts on with some of the techniques for some of the tools and things here. So good stuff all around. Let's get to something decent here. Okay, so uses of like hobby saws and stuff and things like that. So cutting out, different shapes on a piece and all that good stuff. You can cut out surface detail, like cutting off a vent here on this piece. All sorts of good stuff in this book. Different uses for scratch building techniques and things. You've got circle cutters. You've got, gridded style plastic sheet. I know Bailey uses like the wave plastic sheet with the grids on those. Those are really interesting. So this is all kind of, simple scratch building techniques. And this is actually one thing that I've had to do here recently with the Jest. I had to build up the shoulder joint underneath of the actual shoulder armor in this similar fashion here. So that's actually something I've had to do here recently. Here's how to scratch build a gun, right? Pretty interesting. And different putty uses, stencils and things. Here's using like Dymo tape, like guide tape, scribing guide tape, and all that good stuff. How to get those teeny tiny details into your piece. Vacuum forming, that's a good one, because this goes into a good little bit of depth on how to vacuum form, and then it also kind of shows you the parts needed to make your own vacuum forming setup. So should be pretty interesting. Paulie, I did hear about the bluefin news. We'll talk about that here in a minute too, because that's definitely an interesting bit of news. You can get different polycaps and things like that, and different sizes and shapes and orientations of polycaps. It's not just like one standard polycap set that you can get. There's a ton of them out there. And then here, this kind of goes into a little bit of detail on how to kind of make your own, scratch-built joints and things like that. Pretty cool stuff. And gets into paints, thinners, primers, brushes. You got your markers, different weathering sets. The Tamiya weathering sets I really, really like a lot. Some different styles of airbrushes and things, compressors, fittings, stands. Here are like masking liquids and stuff, and then just kind of a myriad of products. And they're not all from one vendor either. They're across the board. So this basically shows you a ton of different brands and things like that. So this is a really, really good book to get ideas of products that you might not have known about before, and then also kind of general uses for some of those products as well. So yeah, this book is actually pretty useful. Shows you how to properly apply water slide decals and things like that. So I know some people have struggles with that, right? So it shows you how to do all that good stuff. And so yeah, it's a pretty good book all in all. And then it kind of gets in the back here, a nice little surprise is resin casting. So I know a lot of you have you know, wondered about resin casting and stuff like that. And I know I told you guys that I'm going to do a video on resin casting here soon, but no promises of when, right? So look forward to that. But hey, that book in particular is not, unfortunately, going to be on the Amazon link. You're going to have to go through some sort of Japanese vendor, Hobby Search, HLJ, Ami, Mandarake, one of those, right? So check that out. Nomuken, that's number 1. I also have number 3, I think, sitting out on the shelf. But yeah, man, a good couple books. That's a good one. It's a good reference book to have at your disposal if you're wanting to maybe find a tool or material or something like that. And yeah, it's overall really a good little book. So, all right. So without any further ado, let's get into some questions here. Like I said, I'm going to cover the questions on social media first, and then we can start to get into the questions in the chat. So ready your questions, everybody. So here we go. Q&A session. This first one is from Paulie. Biggie Paul's here, and he's in the chat on YouTube. He says, will there be an episode of Gunpla Talk soon? Yes, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We're going to have some fun. Josh is going to be our master of ceremonies, and we're just going to kick back and just talk and have fun, probably do some stupid activities and just kind of laugh our butts off. So yeah, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern. So check it out. So good one there. Let's see. Let's get these knocked out here. Do they make an audiobook? Reading is hard. Yeah, but it's only in Japanese, man. Sorry about that. Let's see. This one here is from come on. Why can't I just open these up? It's stupid. All right, so guys, reminder that for the questions that you guys have, make sure to write question in big capital letters before your question. Willie, I saw your question there. We'll get to you here momentarily after I get through the social media questions and stuff. But for those of you guys, make sure you type question, big caps, before your question so I can actually see them much easier that way. So do that for me if you would, and that would be amazing. So thank you. All right. So let's see here. What this is from Nick Laprade. What 3 sizes at minimum chisels would you recommend buying first? That's a really great question, right? So my 3, and I think you guys have probably seen this before. My 3 favorites are 0.15, 0.3, and 0.5. Let me get these lined up here to show you guys. So these 3 guys right here, 0.15, 0.3, 0.5. Those are the top 3 in terms of my opinion when working with 1/100 scale models. You know, I use the 0.15 for general panel lines and things like that. That is my favorite because it's nice and thin, but it's not too thin for 1/100 scale. You can use that on larger scale models as well. You can use 0.1. I've seen people do that before. I personally like 0.15. There's not much of a difference, but you can visibly see it with your naked eye, so that's what I prefer. 0.3 is great for just simple notches and things. So basically, if you're wanting to replicate notch detail like panel latches and things of that nature, I would definitely start with 0.3, simply because the double width of the 0.3 compared to the 0.15 is a nice contrast when you're going from a nice thin panel line to a notch usually coming off of those panel lines. So, and you can use that for floating notches. You can use that for latch panel, type of notches, all sorts of stuff you can use the 0.3 with. And then obviously the last one, the 0.5, the 0.5 millimeter. I like this one for, basically adding a little bit of flavor. And this is good for other notches, other size notches that you may need to convey a look of the piece being heavy or armored or something like that. I would use a bigger notch at that point to simulate that effect. Basically, what you're trying to do is to basically extend the illusion of scale. That's what we're trying to replicate. So those are the first three that I would probably say to invest in. And then after that, you can kind of go hog wild. You can go 0.7, you can go 1 millimeter, you can go smaller, you can go crazy with like 1.5 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, but I wouldn't do notches with those. Those are more for like plastic sculpting and things that we've shown here before. So yeah, so those are the first three that I would definitely say to purchase. So great question. Here's another one from our friend Biggie Pauls. Have you ever driven for Uber? No, I have not, but my brother-in-law has. I don't know if that counts or not. So, yeah. Biggie Pauls also asks, will you be coming to the Gundam Kitchen 2.0 in the future, and when? Yeah, dude, absolutely. I'm just waiting on IRAD to give me the go-ahead, because I talked to him, probably, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I was wanting to maybe do a class here before we closed up the first shop to move to the bigger place, right? Just to blow it out, right? Have fun. And he said, "No, we want to definitely do it at the new shop." So yeah, as soon as I get the word from him, yeah, we're all go. We're all go. I think the plan is to do it either October or November, and we'll probably be doing scratch building kind of 2.0 from the first scratch building class. So kind of improvements and stuff like that. So, oh, cool. Yes, Brandon, it's his birthday. Awesome. Biggie Pauls. Happy birthday to Brandon, you guys. Everybody wish Brandon a happy birthday on YouTube, you guys. That's pretty cool. So yeah, happy birthday to Brandon. Very, very good, very good. Let's see. So DG Gumpla, let's see here, on Instagram. Why are cutting circles out of claw plates so hard? Am I doing something wrong? No. No, it is not easy. It is not easy to cut perfect circles into plastic. There's not a ton of resources that we have currently to get absolutely perfect circles. So a couple things that you can do is use like, this is like a steel ruler that actually has cutouts. And I was lucky enough, I don't even know where I got this ruler, but these circles here are actually in millimeters. Go figure that, right? How are you going to find that here in the US? It goes from 1.5 all the way up to 7.5 millimeters. So sometimes I'll use this, and then sometimes if I need to, I'll use one of these circle templates. For bigger circles. This goes from what, 1/16, which is, doesn't give the millimeter, but 1/16 of an inch all the way up to 2.5 inches for this big boy down here. So there's a few ways that you can do it, right? You can do it with a circular template. You can also grab like one of these circle cutters. These are not like the end all be all though. These will probably get you into kind of at least a good start. They'll scratch the surface, right? I use these mostly for cutting circles, for masking and stuff like that. So that's what I would use these for. But to start off, I would use one of these, and then I would use a general scriber. This is not a chisel. This is just your general kind of tungsten carbide pen type scriber, right? Lay this down on your piece and then just start to slowly scribe in, you know, the shape of the circle. And then after that, just kind of clip that out with your nippers, scissors, whatever, and then just start sanding the edges. So yeah, no, you're not doing anything wrong, dude. Cutting out circles is not easy whatsoever. Not easy at all. So I think that's actually a really good question. So well done. Well done. Let's see. This one is from Hazim on Instagram. Who is your biggest inspiration among the Gunpla community? It's an interesting one. I have a bunch of them, to be quite honest. Just off the top of my head, Ide Ing has been a huge inspiration to me through the years. Shunegi has been a big inspiration with his Master Grade New that he won GBWC with back in, I think, 2013, 2014, around that area. Kenny Lim, toy maker, a great guy and a great builder. And let's see, David Liu, Choco Falcon. I always love seeing his work. Very, very inspirational stuff. You know, and even kind of going back to, you know, like old school modelers, Max, Watanabe? I think that's how Lincoln Wright says it. I was saying it wrong for years and years and years. I said Watanabe or something like that. But he said it completely different. I'm like, oh, shit. I had to go back and look at the spelling. I'm like, oh, shit, I've been saying it wrong for all this time, right? Go figure. But Max and like Mutu Asumi from the old school Hobby Japan days. Man, I loved seeing those stuff. Those are the guys that I kind of came up admiring. Naoki is a great modeler. And honestly, just, you know, a few people that I kind of know on a much better basis. Josh Dara, man, I love seeing him work. I absolutely love seeing him work. Let's see. Azrael Hazamim. That wasn't him. It was another person, Bailey. But he's, you know, Azrael is a wonderful modeler as well. Man, there's too many to mention. I get inspiration from everybody, you know? So that's a really tough one. Just so many great modelers out there. My good friend Justin, Mr. Justinius Builds, I get inspiration from him. He's great. Shit, I mean, all the guys on Gunpla Talk, Zach and Simon and Jim. We already said Josh and Justin. Those are all big inspirations to me. Mr. When I'm On. Whoa, what he can do with plastic and paint is just out of this world, you guys. If you're not familiar with Mr. Win, go check him out on Facebook. The Paint Pusher, just amazing stuff. There's a reason why he won World Champion GBWC a few years ago. So yeah, those are the kind of guys that I look up to, that I get inspiration from. So many more, but it's not enough time, and it is what it is, unfortunately. So, but good question. Let's see. Biggie Paul's has some other ones, but obviously, he's, like he said, those are not appropriate for the stream, so we'll leave those be. Right, Biggie? Right, Paul? But that's still, it's fun stuff, right? Let's see. Let's go over to the good old Twitter and catch up with those guys here, those questions. Robert Brazil, he says, I rarely can catch the streams, but I'll put forward a couple of questions anyway. What 3 skills should every builder master if possible? That's an interesting one. I like the question, though. What 3 skills? What 3 skills? Just off the top of the head, number 1, nub and seam line removal. That's hands down number 1, hands down. Because if you don't have those 2 techniques fully, you know, if you're not fully competent in those techniques, then, you know, the rest of your model is just not going to be as good as it can be, right? So that's absolutely number 1. And then I'm talking, these are basic techniques, guys. So nub removal and seam lines, and I look at those kind of on the same level. So I'm basically grouping those as one of the techniques, because those are just basic stuff. What else? Proper finishing techniques. Yeah, proper finishing. And what I mean by that is surface finishing and surface preparation. Sanding, making sure that your surface is nice and clean, free of any sort of contaminants, dust, body oil from your fingers and things like that. All of those things can add to either a bad, rough paint job or even paint chipping when you get into masking and things like that. And there's nothing worse than paint lifting off a piece and seeing bare plastic in a completely different color than what you painted it, right? So finishing techniques is absolutely crucial in my opinion. So sanding, wet sanding at a pretty damn high grit before you finish with the pieces. Making sure that you clean those pieces either with some degreaser, like some dish soap or something like that. Or what I love to do is give the pieces a bath in 91% isopropyl alcohol, just for a few minutes, not very long. Because what that'll do is that will break down all of the surface contaminants, and it will absolutely leave the surface of those pieces just 100% just pristine and so clean. There'll be no oil, there'll be no dust, nothing. And you'll feel a difference, a physical feeling difference to the plastic, simply because it's so damn clean after soaking that in alcohol after a few minutes. So once you do that, though, man, you need to wear rubber gloves. You can't go back and handle them with your greasy fingers again, because body oil, no matter what, will transfer to the piece, and that body oil will block the adhesion of primer, no matter what kind of primer you use. You could use automotive primer. If there is like grease and stuff like that on your fingers, it will absolutely make it much more challenging for the primer to adhere to that piece. That's big, right? So use gloves. Once you get primer on there, you get that nice base layer down. Make sure that's nice and smooth. If it's not, go back, check for errors. Check to make sure that your seams are good. You'll be able to see it at a much better rate at that point, since it's then, you know, all one color, maybe 50% gray or white or what have you. Check for errors. If your pieces look good at that point, then go on to base coating. Once that's done, move on to secondary, tertiary colors, anything after that, clear coat, all that good stuff. But you need to be careful every single time, because if dust or debris gets into that coat, whatever coat it may be, you're going to have to do something about it, right? And that's where, honestly, like these high grit sandpapers come into play, the 2500, the 3000, because you can actually take that and kind of lightly sand off a piece of dust off of your piece and still be perfectly fine, right? I've done it many times. You got to be super careful with it, though. Super careful. So surface finishing is number 2. Nub, seam line removal, surface finishing. After that, after that, what's the third technique? And I'm trying for basics here. I'm not trying for advanced techniques because nobody wants, well, not everybody wants to do advanced techniques, right? Some people just want to build a cool model right out of the box. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's your hard-earned money. Do with it what you will. But if you're going from taking out of the box to a nice painted model, these are kind of the basic techniques that I would definitely say. So a third one, man, presentation. Presentation. Presentation of your finished model is important because how you see it is going to be completely different from how everyone else sees your model, right? If you just snap a picture with your phone or something like that and the flash goes off and it's just harsh lighting and might not be even, it might be blurry or something like that, or your cat might be in the background, who knows what, right? And you plaster that on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or what have you, you know, people are going to be like, the hell is this, right? It might be the most beautiful model in the world, but if you don't present it well, it won't come across as high quality as you expect it to, or as you see it in real life, right? So that is also another important thing. Now, I'm not saying that you have to, you know, build an elaborate base like I did for the hummingbird, or if you have to, you know, do some sort of plaque or anything like that, or crazy dynamic pose or anything like that. You don't have to get into that. Just present it somewhat nicely. So, you know, put up a sheet of paper in the background or something like that, just to make the background nice and plain. Give it good lighting. Maybe take it outside. I've seen a bunch of people do that. But presentation, I think, is often well overlooked. Well overlooked. So, yeah. So, to recap, seams, seam lines and nubs. That's 1. Surface preparation, 2. Final presentation. Those are the 3 I think that every modeler should really try and really go all out on. That's my opinion. So, good first part of the question there. Let's see, because he's got a few parts here. So, what's the best way to practice scribing without destroying a kit or spending a fortune on scribing tools? Ah, that's another good one. So, along the lines of what a lot of us have done is just use the back side of an old blade, right? So, here's an old X-Acto knife that I have. And this thing is just, it's not even sharp anymore, this thing. I use this mostly for, you know, putty and applying putty in little teeny tiny areas and stuff like that. So this blade is hardly sharp anymore. But you can use the back side, the non-sharp side, to practice your scribing techniques. That's how I started. And I know that's how a lot of people started. Josh Dara, that's how he started. So yeah, that's what I would absolutely recommend. You can grind down the blade and get a thicker width of chisel, but you're not going to get the accuracy as if you were to use the real deal, right? So yeah, what I would probably do is get some spare, some scrap plastic, some scrap pieces of models that you might have scrapped before, maybe some leftovers on a kit that were left over on the sprue. Those are good resources to practice on. So yeah, the backs of the blade, that's what I would recommend. That's how I would start out. Once you're comfortable with that technique, invest in chisels. There you go. Cool. Good question. All right, so he's got one last part. What inspired you to build Gunpla? Man. Another really good question right there. What inspired me? Gundam Wing actually inspired me to build Gundam. Growing up here in the States, back in the early 2000s, like 2000, 2001, we had Gundam Wing on Toonami, or the Cartoon Network here in the States, right? And that's kind of where I got my first taste of Gundam. I didn't know anything about it before, right? I was always into Transformers, like most of us American kids were back in the, mid-late 80s, or early to all the 80s. All the 80s kids were into Transformers. But that's kind of how I started my love fest with Mecha. And then obviously Voltron, and we had GoBots and stuff like that. And those were different, those were named different things, obviously, outside of the U.S., but for U.S. audiences, that's what the names were. But yeah, I loved those series. I absolutely fell in love with those series. And it just kind of continued. And then one day I was sitting in my apartment watching TV on a weekend, and I was just flipping around the channels, and I came to this show that had these giant fighting robots, and I'm like, what's this? This is cool, right? So I just started watching, and they had like episode after episode playing like a marathon, and I just sat there for like hours watching Gundam Wing. And that's really kind of what got me into it. I wanted to know more, so I started, researching online, found forums and stuff like that, and then kind of the rest is history. So that's kind of how I got into building Gundam, and I just haven't really looked back ever since. So here we are today, right? Good question. All right, let's go over to Facebook. Mr. William Wilms, he is often on the chat. I didn't see William here on the chat tonight, so good thing he asked his questions beforehand. He says a couple questions below, since I will not be able to watch the show live. That explains it, right? One tool besides nippers and X-Acto knives that you can't model without. That's an easy one. That's an easy one. I think you guys probably know what it is. It's this bad boy right here. This. For those of you guys that don't know, this is the Chopper 2. They have a Chopper 1, but this is number 2. I strongly suggest getting the 2 because this is nice cast aluminum. The arm is nice and cast aluminum. The stop blocks and guides are also metal of some sort. I believe that's either steel or aluminum. I don't know which. But yeah, this is the tool that I could not model without, hands down, because this serves so many purposes. You can make repeat cuts. You can make angled cuts. You can make templates out of Dymo using this thing. You can cut Dymo tape on this to specified lengths, widths, all that good stuff, and apply it to your piece with supreme accuracy, right? I just love this thing, and I could not model without this. So this would be my choice for the one tool that I could not model without. So the Chopper 2, I highly, highly recommend it. So if you guys are even remotely thinking of getting into customizing, scratch building, all that good stuff, that's the one, man. That is the one. That is absolutely the one. So good stuff. Let's see. Let's finish up here with William's questions. One master grade model that you are praying that Bandai comes out with. Oh man. What's one that I would love to see? The Gustav Karl. Yeah. the Gustav Karl. For those of you that don't know what the Gustav Karl is, it's this big, chunky, just linebacker-looking mech. It made its animation debut in Gundam Unicorn. I think it was like in either episode 6 or 7 of the OVAs, and man, it was awesome, and I liked it even before then. They're going to have it back in Gundam Narrative, the NT or however it is. But that's one I would love to see the master grade treatment get applied to that. It's so cool. So Gustav Karl, that's the one. If you guys are not familiar with it, go check it out on Gundam Wiki and all that good stuff. Man, you're gonna probably fall in love with it like I did. It's awesome. It's just a big old chunky boy, and it's kind of ugly, but it's also just kind of badass, and just the shape of the angles and everything are just super cool, and I just absolutely love it to death. So yeah, that would be the one. That would be the one. So good answer. All right, so his last question is, any thoughts on adding tools for sale on your website? No, not really. And I'll tell you why. This is the reason why. I've done the whole kind of retail website thing, and it just wasn't for me. It just was not for me. So I respect the people that that are able to have the discipline and the time and the determination to make it work, but I'm just that's unfortunately just not me. Building takes up the majority of my time outside of family time, of course. My passion is building. So to offer things like tools and all that other stuff, from me, it just, it wouldn't make sense. I love the thought. I appreciate it, but man, it's just, that's just not me. There's so many other people that would just do it so much better. So many other stores that actually do it better. That just, you wouldn't get anything different out of me, So if I can't be unique in some sort of way and offer you something unique to what you're not getting someplace else, why do it? Just the same old thing. So, but I appreciate it, William. I really do. I appreciate that, man. Cool. All right, so that knocks out our pre-questions, you guys. Let's get caught up with the chats and stuff like that, okay? So let's see. Let's start with Facebook. Let's see. Timothy Jeremiah Akabatal. Hello from Singapore. What's going on, buddy? Thank you for watching from Singapore. That's awesome. Our boy Johnny Miniscue. I don't know how to say your last name, Johnny. I'm sorry, buddy. He has a question. How do you split your time between real life and the hobby? The ultimate question, really, for people with families. It's tough. It is very tough. I am lucky enough to be able to work from my home office for my occupation. So luckily, thankfully, that that gives me time to be able to be here for my daughter when she gets home, and then obviously time for when I'm here to spend time with my wife, right? Hang on, you guys. We got to deal with something here. There we go. That was easy, right? You get some crazies in this world. So I appreciate the moment there, you guys. But anyway, back to Johnny's question: how do you balance model time and home life? Man, like I said again, it's like the epic question of everybody with a family, right? Like I said, so I work from home. I'm able to be here when my daughter gets home from school, and obviously here when my wife gets home from work. I'll help her when I can with dinner, and I will try to be upstairs and watch TV with them, or spend time with them, or we'll go out, shopping or something like that. And I really make a focused effort to spend time with them, because that obviously is going to be my top priority. Number one, absolute top priority. I would give all this up in a second for them. Plain and simple, right? And I think any of us would, deep down. But I think my wife, that, she's been with me for, God, almost 20 years at this point, and maybe over 20 years. God, I've lost track. But she's been with me for a long, long time, and she's seen me kind of progress in this hobby from just starting out and finding Gundam to where I am today, right? And I'm lucky enough to where she supports me with this. She completely supports what I do, even, live streaming when I have to, come down here and, jump on and do like pre-show work and stuff like that. So she supports me with my endeavors, okay? Which I'm, again, very lucky to have that in my life, right? But it is a tough balance, like there'll be moments where like I've gotten like insane inspiration, and I have an idea rattling around my head, and I gotta just get it into plastic, right? But it's not the time, focus on number one, and that's them. Hands down, point blank. I'm a night owl too, so I'm lucky enough to come down here and work for a few hours every single night. I don't watch a ton of TV, and I don't play like video games or have really much other hobbies than this. So this is kind of like number two in my life, really. This hobby of mine, and then that encompasses all things, live streaming, the show, Gunpla Talk, making tutorials and videos and all this good stuff, and actually sitting down and talking to you guys, helping you, answer comments and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's a very, very hard balance. It is very hard, but once you get the routine down, it becomes much easier. So. Yeah. Great question, though. That is the question, right? So, good one. Mr. Win Imong is over there, or at least was over there on Facebook watching. That's good to see. Kevin Kearney, I know you might get asked this a lot, but is there any suit that has an old kit or no kit you still hope to get a release? Yeah, you know what? That's a good question, too. We already did the no kit, the Gustav Karl, right? One kit that I would love to see redone that already has a kit is the Alex, the Master Grade Alex. I'm sure you guys have heard me kind of just go to town on how bad the Master Grade Alex, the original Master Grade Alex was. It was bad when it came out, you guys, and I remember when it came out because I was modeling and on the forums and everything, and I got it, like a few months after it came out, and Holy shit, was it terrible. Just worse than any of the other models that came out at around the same time. And there were a bunch of them, too. You're talking about, you know, early mid-2000s when there was like one release a month for master grades, right? So we would get, you know, 10, 11, 12 master grades in a year. And these were regular releases. P Bandai wasn't even a thought. So there was a lot of technology to compare it to in and around its release date. So that's one I would love to see get a 2.0. And I'm not one really to just throw that out there lightly. I don't think that every single model needs a 2.0, but that one does. That one does. So good question. Good question. George over there, the Gustav, I think it will come in high grade form, I think. Yes, yes, they're talking about high grade for the narrative series. So yeah, so good stuff there. Cool. All right, so now that we're caught up across all those things, now you guys on YouTube and Twitch, I can get to you guys. So thank you for being patient. There's a lot of you guys on right now, so I know there's a ton of questions. So let's knock these out of the box. Let's see let's do a time check real quick. 11:03. We've been at this for an hour, you guys. Holy shit, time flies. All right, so let's start at the top, and then I will work my way down. It might be a while before I get to your question if you ask it right now. Just saying. All right. Let's go. Ace Schultz is with us. Enrico Asanohashi. Bailey's with us. Black Lotus. Cool. Let's see. Julius Dembski. Hello. I have a list of questions. Sweet. Ask them, dude. I love it. I know you're asking them already, so keep it coming, brother. Futabeo is with us. Hellos. Min O. Hey, everyone on this chat. Yes. Yes. And I think that's Elliot that emailed me today. Nice young man who emailed me today. He said he was at the Gundam Kitchen earlier today, and he saw my work and everything. So I thought that was awesome, and he just emailed me. He wanted to know more. So really cool. So Elliot, if that's you, man, thank you for watching, brother. Let's see. There's another Elliot. I was in the wrong chat. So hopefully, I don't know if that's the same one or not. Shit. Biggie Paul's 01 Shield. Looks like what's coming tomorrow? Damn, the cutter. This thing. Yeah, the cutting mat. Cool. That's awesome. So mine is coming tomorrow with an Olfa knife. Sweet. Where in the world did you buy that all for 13? Yeah, Elliot on Amazon. Yeah. And somebody's probably already answered for you at this point. Let's see. Bailey says, I like my A3 size cutting mat from Wave. I use the masking tape cutting guides all the time. Dude. Ugh. Wait till we get into the masking part of the Jesta, dude. I will absolutely revolutionize the way that you guys do masking. I can't wait to show you my technique because it's damn near foolproof, you guys. You guys have seen the masking that I'm able to accomplish on tricky parts. And obviously you guys know that I mask and airbrush everything. I don't hand paint anything, right? So, man, once we get into that, oh, you guys are going to love it. I swear you guys are going to love it. Let's see. Enrico says, that's a ton of sandpaper. I should get a lot of it for scratch building. Yeah, definitely, man. Larger one is $18 too. Which one? Larger one? I don't know. Anyway, that was from Freddie Torres. He's with us. Cool. 01 Shield. Elliot, check the description for the Amazon links. Yes, that's the one. Bailey, yeah, ultrasonic cutters still very expensive. Yeah, but they're starting to come down, and they're starting to come over to the U.S. I saw a U.S. version, I think in Kickstarter or something like that. On, where did I see the ad? It was either on Facebook or Instagram. I forget which, but it was an American... Well, I shouldn't say American, but it was an English version. I think it was called the Wonder Cutter. Don't quote me on that. I think that's what it was. Anyway, but yeah, they're still super expensive, but hopefully with domestic companies making them here in the U.S., or at least getting them here in the U.S., maybe that price point will be a little bit better, right? So, Biggie Paul's asked earlier, and I touched on it for just a few seconds. He says, Tim, did you hear the huge bluefin news? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So, for those of you guys at home, bluefin here in the U.S. Is our distributor. They distribute all Gundam models in the U.S. for Bandai. They distribute things like Mr. Color paints and some other tools and things like that, and other lines too. But specifically for Gundam, that's the distributor here in the U.S. So it was evidently announced on Wednesday that Bandai bought a controlling interest in Bluefin, and that come January they will be transitioning that company to a Bandai company, but it will still operate under the name of Bluefin. So what does that mean for us, right? Short story is nobody knows. Nobody knows. And I've talked to a few different people today with sources and who work very closely in that situation, and they don't even know. They're not 100% sure what it's going to hold. The one thing that I've gotten consistently across that is that we will see an increase in product. That's one thing that I've gotten from everyone at this point. We will see an increase in product, meaning quantity of product and also type of product. So things that you may not necessarily be able to get currently here in the U.S., you may be able to get here, sometime next year, once they get the logistics and everything rolling. So that's exciting and scary at the same time, because if you guys remember, and you'd have to be old school to remember, Bandai had a Bandai America division back in the early 2000s, and they used to sell Gundam kits in places like Walmart, Target, Toys R Us was a big one. And they just really didn't do anything with them. They didn't really know how to market these things. They had the media, the anime on Cartoon Network, and it was very popular at the time, but it just kind of fizzled out, as with the entire company. And that they closed Bandai America back in the early 2000s, and it was just kind of an epic failure, just a huge kind of black eye, if you will, for Bandai. So hopefully they learn from the mistakes of the past. Only time will tell, right? So we got to wait and see, you guys. We got to wait and see. But hopefully with years and years and years and the popularity increasing exponentially here in the U.S., hopefully they'll have a little bit of a better time with marketing to people and getting product into the hands of would-be buyers and new customers as well. That you guys don't fully understand what it takes to take a product from basically zero consumer knowledge to something semi-successful or even really successful. It's very hard. It's very hard. It takes a whole lot of cash. So we'll see. It's totally a wait and see game right now, you guys. Totally a wait and see game. Anybody speculating right now, anybody saying, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, let's be real. They're talking out of their ass. 100%. They're talking out of their ass. Unless they work for that company, or unless they're a high-dollar distributor or customer of that company, they don't know shit. And that's all it comes down to. I see a lot of people spouting poetic on Facebook groups and stuff like that, and I just have to shake my head because they don't know shit. So anyway, let's wait and see, right? Let's wait and see. Let's see. Okay, get through these. Astrea Kai is with us. I need this book. Oh, the Nomoken one. Yeah, it's a good book. Willie Matamoros. How long does it take to sand and nub removal? It doesn't take that long, right? For me, what I do is when I clip the parts from the sprue, I will have my hobby knife on hand right there, and then start to shave that down. And if you have good knife work, then you probably won't even need to sand, right? If you're still kind of learning, if you don't have the dexterity down yet, then go to sand it, and just go as you're building, as you're starting to dry fit that model, and it'll just fly. So, good question there. Julius Dembski, first big question. You mentioned the other night that you don't like using light colored paint on dark pieces to highlight panel lines. What do you use to highlight them? Great question, Julius. I still use black, brown, sometimes gray. Well, not for dark colors. I take that back. Not gray, but black or brown. So this is the thing. We very rarely see a piece of equipment, a car, a heavy-duty piece of equipment, a military piece of equipment, truly black, right? In a deep black saturated color. We very rarely see that. When you take a look at it in pictures, or if you take a look at it outside in real life, you're still able to see the lines that separate the panels for the armor or the pieces or parts or whatever. You're still able to see that because those shadows are deep black, right? So the color theory side of things is that you never really want to paint something a deep saturated black. You want to paint it at most a very dark gray, because that better simulates black in the real world. Then you can still use a black, panel line wash, or a brown for that matter, if you're using maybe like a dark brown or something like that, and you'll still be able to see the contrast between the lines and the base color. So, yeah, just trust me. Take a look at pieces that are, truly blacked out. If it's not like Vanta black, like light absorbing black, which it's just not. I highly avoid painting anything a true black color. I will go dark gray. I think probably the lightest that I would ever go is that graphite gray that I showed you guys way back, the 40th anniversary colors. Yeah, I would stay away from true black, except for maybe, I don't know, maybe some highlight pieces, things like that, but I would not ever paint anything, full on saturated black. That's just me. So good question. Let's see. William Matamoros says, what beginner airbrush would be okay to start off with? Great question. It depends. A lot of people really, at least here in the States, really like the Master series of airbrushes on Amazon. I can't say anything against them because I've never used one myself. I really like the little Iwata Neo that I bought last year. It seems like a nice little starter airbrush. So yeah, any one of those I think is good, right? I would definitely start off with something inexpensive just to kind of get your feet wet, and then once you are more comfortable with airbrushing and thinning paints and stuff like that, then start to graduate. Maybe, save your money for something a little bit better, maybe like an Iwata Eclipse or something like that. That's what I use, and I absolutely love that airbrush. So, yeah, that's what I would do. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Everybody wished Brandon a happy birthday for Paulie. That's awesome. I love seeing that, you guys. You guys are the best. Bailey says Squadron has a steel ruler like that. Don't know if it's metric. Yeah, though. So that ruler I showed earlier, that is definitely metric, and I have no clue where I got it either. So good stuff. Ulfa makes a compass cutter, which I am going to add to my toolbox soon. That's from 01 Shield on YouTube, you guys. How's it go with Tri Tools? Biggie Pauls. Thanks, Tim, for reading my questions, but they start to get a little crazy. Don't read any more of them, just laugh. Yeah, no, trust me, I did. I did. Let's see. Elliot, question. The winner of GBWC at Otakon had a gorgeous real rust paint job, and it inspired me to work on a piece with rust. Do you have any experience with oxidizing paint or painting rust effects? Honestly, I don't. No. And that's just real deal, because I don't do much weathering, right? The best thing that I can point you in the direction of is Mr. Lincoln Wright. Paint on Plastic is his YouTube channel, and wonderful modeler. He hand brushes all that stuff, does a ton of weathering and everything. But basically what a rusty paint job is going to take is multiple layers of paint, and then different pigments, dry pigments, like powdered pigments, to simulate that kind of rusty, raised material off of a piece of metal. So, but you need to be careful, especially on Gundams, because if you are wanting to rust those, make sure that you really pay attention to scale, right? Because rust develops in little minute patches, right? You never see them in this big, massive patch of rust unless something's been sitting out in the weather for, decades, right? So that would be the one thing that I would say is watch your scale when you do a rust paint job like that, because it is easy to get away from you and become a non-realistic look. So good question, Elliot. Let's see. Justin always inspires me. His Instagram has so much ice cream. Biggie. Oh, Paulie, I love you, buddy. I love you. Let's see. Jake is with us. Dude, we love the channel from India. Here, can you wish my friend Anas Ramar a happy birthday? Anas, if you're watching, happy birthday, brother. That's awesome. So, Jake, that's great. Happy birthday to Anas. That's awesome. And hey, thanks for watching from India. That's super cool. Super cool. Space Rat 53 is with us. He says, who can I go to for tutorials on scratch building with plot plate and builders / extra parts, like doing armor plating and thrusters or doing a custom backpack? I mean, there's this one guy. He does his live stream every 3 days. He seems pretty cool. I watch him. Child of Robots or something like that. Yeah. No. No, man, there's a bunch of people out there. Toy Maker on Facebook doesn't do a ton of modeling here recently just because of life and everything, but he's a good one to go back and take a look at his different posts and stuff like that are archived. Josh Dara is another really good one. He's really very talented at that point. Enrico Asanohashi, shameless plug. He's been doing videos on scratch building. Check out his channel. So there you go. Very cool. Let's see. Yeah, Justinius is good too. Yep. That's from Bailey. Good job. Yep. Let's see. William Matamoros, we're going back to him. Question, I recently finished a 144 IBO kit. I applied top coat, but it looks like it has white spots everywhere. What could be the cause? Great question. So, depending on where you sprayed that clear coat, like what environment that you sprayed it in, either outside, like in a garage, or outside, or inside, or wherever, chances are the humidity was probably really high. That moisture that basically gets caught in the stream of spray transfers to the model, and then once that starts to try and evaporate, that's what leaves that white haze. So it's easy to fix. Go to some place that has less humidity, hopefully under 50% humidity if you can find a place. Sometimes it's tough, especially if you don't have any place inside to spray that, or a garage or something like that, or if you live in a tropical climate or what have you. But try to spray it in a much lower humidity area, and just spray over top of that. Give it a nice, a few light coats, and that will actually re-soften the already sprayed top coat, and that will start to basically lay it down and eliminate that haze. So should be very simple to do. Good question. Julius Dembski, how do you store your pieces after cleaning, before priming and painting, if you're not able to paint them right away? Great question. I have a ton of these like little, like Rubbermaid Tupperware style containers. And I'll just plop them in here. I've got like a stack of them over there underneath of my photo booth. I've got like almost like 20 of them probably that I just mix and match. And then I also have these little style containers here. These are from IKEA actually. And you get like a whole mix of sizes of these things. And I think this in the store was like $7, $8. And I think you get like 10 various sized of these things. And I love these little things. I keep one with water in it for wet sanding here, and like I'll kind of separate and organize parts in them. So yeah, so that's what I would definitely recommend, is storing them in something like that, and make sure you put the lid on so they don't get dust on them or anything like that. But yeah, that's where I would store those things. Good question. Elliot, what would be an optimal build display solution without harsh LEDs blowing out all the color on your models? What would be an optimal build display solution? You mean like a display stand or something like that? I'm not sure what you're talking about, but so what I do is I have a for shooting pictures and stuff like that, I have a photo booth that I made myself, right? But you don't have to use anything like that. You can use like one of these desk lamps that has arms on it or something like that, and you can just take like wax paper and wrap it around the dish and put a rubber band on that. That will help diffuse the light, make it softer, right, and not have those harsh shadows. That's what I would recommend. If you're talking about purely a display piece, then what I do is I like to use what's called MDF, medium density fiberboard. I like the 3/4 inch variety. You can get that from places like Home Depot and Lowe's here in the US, other hardware stores abroad. But I like using that because it's nice and heavy and it's very, very stable. You can laminate plastic onto that very easily. With some spray mount, things that you use to laminate countertops, like a spray. Again, those are available in those same hardware stores, and you can just laminate sheets of plastic on top of that, and then go to town building off of that, and super, super easy, and it's very, very stable. So that's what I use for my bases, display bases, that is. But if you're talking about actually shooting, photographing a model, then yeah, I would I would just use a light, and then try to diffuse that light either with a lampshade or like I said, a piece of wax paper over the bulb or something like that. So good question. All right, let's see, where did we leave off here? Let's see. Jonathan G is with us. My chopper is arriving on Sunday after your recommendation. Sweet. That's awesome, dude. Freddie Torres praised the chopper. Nice. Sorvon Zero is over there on Twitch holding it down for us as always. Thank you, Sorvon. Appreciate that. Gustav Karl is getting an HUC. Definitely buying it. If it sells well, you guys may get a 1/100 someday. Here's to hoping, right? Fingers crossed. Let's see. Oh, and then we have the guy on YouTube that I had the ban. That's okay, though. Let's see. Here we go. Julius Dembski, question 1. What do you use to remove enamel and lacquer from a kit without damaging the plastic? So for enamel, I would probably use like a degreaser, something like Purple Power. Now, Purple Power is not the strongest degreaser out there, you guys. Sure, it's very popular because you can get it in Walmart and it's very easily accessible and everybody says it's the best thing since sliced bread. I happen to disagree, and honestly, I've actually compared it, you know, to other chemicals, and I know for a fact that it's not that strong. What I like to use is a product from Home Depot. It's called Zep Fast 505. It's an industrial strength degreaser, and that will take off enamel, that will take off electroplating, like the Shiki 2.0. That's what I use to strip it. It will take off virtually anything, but it's completely safe on the plastic. You can leave it in there for hours and hours and hours, and it's completely safe on the plastic. There is zero degradation, zero molecular effects like being brittle or anything like that. Absolutely nothing. It's 100% safe. I've tried it on at least 5 or 6 different models that I've had to strip in some form or fashion. So yes, I can definitively say that Zep Fast 505, 100% safe, and that's probably about the best one that I've tried so far. Way better, excuse me, than Purple Power. Much more efficient, acts and strips much faster. So if you're in the market for something like that, Zep Fast 505. Now, for lacquer, that's completely different. For lacquer, like your Mr. Hobbies, your All Clad, your SMS paints, things like that, super easy. 91% isopropyl alcohol. You can get it almost anywhere. Grocery stores, Target, Walmart, department stores, grocery stores, things like that. It's cheap too. It's like maybe $3 a bottle here in the US, which is like nothing. And it works superbly. There's a video on my Facebook where I dropped a few parts into 91% isopropyl alcohol, and like after, you know, a few seconds, the alcohol started to attack the paint and it just started to fall off, right? With hardly any sort of pressure. You know, I had a little old toothbrush scraping off the paint and everything. It's super easy. Like, you leave it in there for like 5 or 10 minutes, bring it back, and that paint just falls off. The primer too, it just falls off. And the beauty part is there's no effects to plastic. Zero. The only drawback, this is the only one, is that if you filled something with like a solvent-based putty, like Tamiya White or like your Squadron Green or something like that, that might start to degrade that putty, meaning that you may have to apply it again. But at that point, just fill it with super glue and be done with it, right? So we've seen firsthand on this stream the amazing power of this little guy here, the Loctite Ultra Liquid Control. This shit is amazing. And so yeah, so that's what I would do. But that's really the only drawback, and it's super minor. Everything else about it, it's just awesome. You can also use it to clean your airbrush too. I use that myself. I will stick my airbrush in 91% isopropyl alcohol, drop that into the ultrasonic cleaner for you know, about 10 minutes or so. Man, it comes out just as clean as the day it was made, you guys. You know, you throw in a little you know, lubrication for the trigger assembly and everything. It's working like a Ferrari. Just flawless. So yeah, 91% isopropyl alcohol for your lacquer needs. Now, one thing to keep in mind, though, for those of you guys outside of the U.S., you need to test all of these recommendations before you actually apply them, because throughout the world, throughout different countries, there are different formulations. So the perfect example is like bleach. Bleach here in the U.S. is pretty weak. You compare the bleach here to the U.S. to, like, say, the bleach they have in Australia, and that stuff is like hydrochloric acid compared to the bleach we have here, you guys. Like, straight up, that stuff is nasty from what I've seen. So test before you apply it, before you turn it to practice. Okay. Julie Stemsky, number 2, I'm working on some plans to build a spray booth. I bought a bathroom exhaust fan. What kind of exhaust fans and filters do you use in your spray booth? Great question. Same thing. I have three bathroom fans. They move 70 CFM, cubic feet per minute. So that's 210 cubic feet per minute. This, like I've shown you guys, the thing roars. So it moves air like crazy. I do not use filters in my spray booth. I know, people are going to freak out about that, but I'm going to tell you why. I used to use a filter in that, and it absolutely just, it sucked. It brought down the CFM so much that you couldn't even hold a Kleenex or a piece of toilet tissue up against the fan and have it, you know, stick, right? Once I removed the filter, man, it was roaring back to life, and it's never stopped ever since. So I do not use a filter in my spray booth. I have it vented to the outside. So it will, being 210 CFM, it'll suck the face off your skull, quite honestly, if you're not careful. But it'll suck out all the fumes. It'll suck out all the particulates and everything like that. I have to admit, sometimes I don't wear a spray mask when I probably should. But it's moving so much air that I'm not really too worried about it, you guys. So if you have something that strong, then I wouldn't necessarily use a filter. If you're only using one, man, using a filter may shut that whole thing down. You may not get any suction out of it. So test it, right? Try different things. So yeah. Let's see. Julie Stemsky, number 3. Besides pins, what other low-cost things that are not specifically designed for Gunpla do you use, like metal detail parts? Great question. Let's see. These little teeny tiny screws, right? And these are like hex head screws. So they're super tiny. Let me see if I can grab one here for you. You guys probably can't see that, but there it is. That little guy, right? Now, that's a pretty big screw for a 1/100 scale model, all things considered. So you can get these in like specialty hardware stores. You can get them online and places like that. Pins are a definite. And then these are miniature eyelets for basically like, I think they're for like scrapbooking or something. Miniature eyelets are really cool. I've used these on the Hummingbird and stuff like that before. So those are some things. What else? Right here, these are cool. These are these little knurled, can you see it? Let's see if it'll focus. It probably won't focus because this camera hates me. But these are threaded inserts, and you can get these, again, in specialty stores, specialty hardware stores. You can get these in places like McMaster Car here in the States is a really good one. So, yeah, threaded inserts are great, too. They come in a ton of different sizes, shapes. patterns and things. So those are really good ones too. So those are just some things that to throw out there, some off the wall types of things. So yeah. Let's see. Julius Dembski again. Let's see. I'm working on some. Oh no, did you already asked those? Ah, okay, no problem. No problem. He just retyped them. No big deal. Let's see. All right, very cool. Okay, Fudabeoi says, do you visit your local IPMS group shows when you get a chance? Not really. No. I have in the past. I've visited like a IPMS, like a local chapter like get together, but it was just a bunch of old dudes that worked on armor and stuff like that. I didn't really fit in, you know. I was probably one of the youngest people there, and I'm 40, so yeah, it just wasn't my scene. And when I brought my models, they were like, oh, "What's that? Right? It's a robot." So, not really. I don't. Bailey Googled it, Tim, the Wonder Cutter on Kickstarter. So yeah, good. I was right. I was right with that name. Astrea Kai, lately I have inspiration to do a custom builds based on dragons and knights. What kit would fit the knight and dragon theme? Good question. Easy stuff. Right off the top, the Gyan. I mean, that's kind of a given, right? Maybe some outside of the box ones. What's the Grimgird? Obviously has kind of a knightly look to it. For dragons, that might be a little bit tougher. You're probably gonna have to work for that one. Check. You know what I would say is check. Check Mr. Dash, Kevin Zhang's Facebook page. He made this mechanized looking dragon that was really crazy, and he kit bashed it and, you know, customized in the whole 9 yards, and he made some really cool effects out of that. So I would check that. So, but just some options for those. Good question. Let's see. Trying to move through the comments and see the questions and all here. Jamie Layton is with us. He says, do you mix your panel line colors? No, actually I use the Tamiya panel line, the accent colors. So I use those straight out of the bottle. I don't mess with that. I'll, you know, since I use lacquer everything, using some enamel based products over the top of that is going to be perfectly fine. You need to be careful and make sure that you coat everything in primer at very least, so that it doesn't make, you know, so it doesn't pool and make that plastic brittle in any way. That can happen. It's, I think, honestly more rare than, you know, people would let on, but it does happen. It does happen. So, no, I do not mix my own. So, Julius Dembski again. How do you store your pieces after cleaning? We already asked that. Yeah, we already asked that. Do you thin your primer? If so, what ratio? Yes. So the other night I showed you guys the Mr. Surfacer 1000. It comes in this nice little jar here. I think this is probably about 30 milliliters. If you thin it correctly, you can get 3 of these size jars out of this one. So yeah, basically 3 to 1. So good question. Let's see, what else? Any plans to attend the next GBWC in the US? Not this year. Next year, probably. Yeah, that's the intent anyways, right? Let's see. Astria Kai, wow, Tim, shameless promo. Is this what you have come to? Absolutely. I always promo. Come on. You got a promo, man. Let's see. Take photos with my phone sometimes for references of weathered items as well. That's a good call. GizmoCon Gunpla is with us over there on YouTube, and that's a very good call. Sometimes I'll do that too if I see something interesting out in the real world. You know, like a interesting patina on some car or truck or piece of equipment or something like that. Yeah, I'll absolutely snap a picture of it just for reference. It's just one of those things, right? Let's see. Elliot says, I hear tackle boxes are great for storing small pieces. Tackle boxes may be a bit too much. What I really like are these little compartmented, you know, little storage cases. You can get these at places like Target and stuff like that for a few bucks. But as you can see, you know, I store a ton of extra parts, detail stuff, stuff I just don't want to lose in here. And these are really, really great. So I like those over tackle boxes. So good stuff. Let's see. A Schultz question. What is your next kit plan? We're getting back to this, you guys. The GM Spartan. I need to finish him because I started on that guy before the Jesta, and I kind of got burned out on it, and it's just I want to get back to it now. You know, I want to get done with the Jesta. I think we've gotten, you know, I think we got pretty good in here with the Jesta, and I want to get the Spartan done next. So that's my next plan. Beyond that, you know, I want to work on the little HGUC RX-78-2 for a tutorial series. So that's kind of what's in plan right now. So yeah. Let's see. What's over on Twitch, Kaz628 says, how's it going, Mr. Mecha? Mr. Mecha. It's all formal and shit. That's cool. What are some tips that you can give to help get better masking lines? I'm still relatively new to airbrush work, and it is something I struggle with. Okay, so probably the most important thing is using the right masking tape. The right masking tape can make an absolute world of difference. I highly recommend Tamiya's masking tape, and it comes in these nice little rolls and in these little dispensers too, and you can get a ton of these on Amazon for, you know, probably about 10 bucks or so. These are probably the best masking tape for models that you can get right now. I love this stuff. I mean, you guys have seen the paint jobs that I get, and like I said, I mask everything, every single thing. I do not hand paint a single piece. So I mask everything, and you can get some really insane details with this. Make sure to use this type of masking tape. That's important, but equally as important is to make sure that it's pressed down into and onto the piece. Make sure to burnish it down, really press it in. To do that, I will sometimes use this here. This is just sticky tack, blue tack. You know, it comes in a bunch of different names of different colors. I've seen it in blue, pink. This is yellow. But what I'll do is I'll place the tape down, and then I will press this down onto top of the tape, so it will essentially just press in to all the little nooks and crannies and everything, and really, really adhere well. This really does kind of change the game. Another thing, shoot, where did they go? So another thing that I've been getting into are these. These are actually brushes. These are ceramic brushes. So these are not cloth or you know, single fiber brushes. These are actually silicone, And these are great. So basically you use these just to kind of press down as well. And they obviously, like you see, they come in a bunch of different shapes. They come in different sizes, all sorts of stuff. So these are really useful too. I use these quite a lot as well. So both of those, make sure you use the right tape. Make sure you press the tape down appropriately. That will definitely give you nice, crisp lines. So good question there. Let's see. Enrico Asa Nohashi, pens can be a gold mine, and there are thousands of different sorts of pens. You can find a lot of diverse, useful stuff. Yeah, pens are cool, but if you're using, if you're customizing like with your own panel lines and stuff, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a pen that will fit into a 0.15 panel line. So be cautious of pens. I used to use pens back in the day. A couple streams ago, I showed the my first model that I used a Sharpie on, and this was, you know, a decade or so ago. Not, well, even more, almost 2 decades ago. So you need to be careful with pens. So like I said, I use the Tamiya panel accent colors, and I just love them. They're almost foolproof. So, yeah. Andrew Young is with us. Looks like he's drunk. Man, he's just... Yeah. What the... Yeah, he's drunk. He's drunk as shit right now. Oh, boy. Fun times. Good stuff. All right. So I think we're caught up now. Maskage is tum. T-U-M-B, you guys. Masking is tum. GBWC id so stoopy. Holy shit. Andrew, you may want to go to the hospital, buddy, because it sounds like you have alcohol poisoning. Holy shit. Okay, sorry, Bailey. So Bailey says, I think Enrico was talking about pen parts for detail greeblies. Ah, my bad. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good point, because like if you look in like pens and mechanical pencils, and you guys, Andrew is so funny. Stop making fuil odim. Stop making fuil odim. Holy shit, man. Come on, Andrew. So, yeah. Pen parts, Single Media, Atan Abanir on Facebook, is one of the guys I also really kind of look up to for his scratch building prowess. He uses a ton of parts like really outside of the box, right? Like he'll use little plastic pencil sharpeners, or the shafts to disposable razors, and Legos, and all sorts of really kind of off the wall type of plastic parts in his models. But he'll basically meld them into the model in such a way that you're just like, yeah, that looks natural, right? So yeah, look at everything. Look at all plastic parts, and go from there. Think about how you can incorporate those into your next project, right? So that's a good good call there too. Space Rat 53, what was your first master grade? That's a good question. Holy shit, I don't know. First master grade, I have to think about that one. Oh no, you know what? It was a Gundam Mark II. It was the first one. It was a 1.0 Gundam Mark II. I totally screwed it. I just wrecked that entire kit. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Let's put it that way. So that was technically my first master grade that I built, but yeah, I completely screwed it up. So Let's see. Tim, for the guy asking about Dragon's Age 2 enemy kits look like dragons. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Here's another gem from Andrew. Dis direm is improtnakti acquisition. Okay, so he's either super drunk and he's bordering on blackout, or he's faking it. And I don't really know which is which right now. I'm kind of going with faking it. It's what my gut's telling me. Anyway, Astria Kai was hoping to do stuff like 100 Mile, work like the Gundam Knight work he does, but Mr. Dash is also crazy as well. Yeah. Dash is a really good inspiration for that type of stuff because he melds kind of the mythological aspects of different deities and things. Obviously, Clash of the Deities is his book. He melds that with plastic models, and he's really, really good at it, almost second to none. And so I would definitely take some inspiration from him. You know, just thinking about it a little bit more, the Baowu, the RE Baowu, would probably make an interesting knightly style mech. At very least, the head and you know, maybe the shoulders and stuff like that. Maybe the Ifrit would be cool too. Yeah, so there's some other ones. Let's see. Elliot, if I'm trying to make a diorama with a pool of resin water, what kind of container could I use to make a base? The last time I tried to use a wooden box and it ended up growing mold inside. Huh. Interesting. I wonder how it grew mold. Because it shouldn't do that. Because once the resin is cured, it's just plastic, right? So that's weird. I'll be honest with you, that's weird. I would normally recommend MDF or wood as a base, and then cover it, you know, laminate it with plastic or something to that nature. Maybe plaster of Paris or some sort of other material to go over top of it, and yeah. So it's a weird thing that it started growing mold inside. I don't know why. Andrew Young, haha, Mark III is stupid. I'm Nito, and then Freddie Torres says, hi, Nito. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. I needed that. That was good. Enter to pass so Gnate. I think that's French. I think he was speaking French. Astria Kai, I'll probably buy his book. It's a good book, yeah. Mr. Dash, The Clash of the Deities, it's superb. His Photoshop work is amazing. So yeah, definitely, I would definitely pick it up. It's a good one. Space Rat 53, get some help, Andrew. You're clearly not doing well right now. I agree. Gizmo Kongumpla, I've been following Luca for some time, for someone who uses everyday items to scratch, build, and make custom parts. Yeah, you know what? And that's a good call right there, Jonathan. Gizmo Kongumpla. Luca Zampriello, or Calamity, on Facebook and Instagram and all those other good ones, is just a master at his craft. Not only is he a very accomplished model maker, as he's also an amazing artist, right? Yeah, I would just I would highly recommend looking at Calamity's Facebook pages, Instagram, all that good stuff. He's got a bunch of videos. Look him up. He's been on Tested, you know, when he's come out to like San Diego Comic-Con, places like that. Norman Chan has interviewed him, I think, at least once. But man, he's like a true Renaissance man. So definitely. Let's see. Astria Kai, yeah, that's not French, Tim, and I should know. I have a girlfriend who's French. I know, right? I'm just messing, but it looked like French, right? So, ne tu pas leb so good night. Shit, that kid, man, He'd be the death of me, you guys, I swear. Julius Dembski, is the Spartan kit a scratch kit? I can't find it for sale anywhere. Yeah, sorry, Julius. The GM Spartan is a 1/100 scale conversion of the GM Sniper 2. So, yes, I am converting it myself. Used the original skirts and then laminated on top of those to make the GM Spartan front skirts and the chest we've built up and all that good stuff. And I've got a bunch of other parts over on the side here that I'm still working on. But yeah, that's a true conversion at this point. So yeah, sorry, you're not going to find at least my kit anywhere. Now, that's not to say that you're not going to be able to find other kits of that. There are resin conversion kits that you can buy on the market. I think I think Side 3 makes one. It's not the greatest looking kit, in my opinion. A lot of people really dig it, but I mean, when I compare it to this, and this is the artwork from the Master Archive GM book, I mean, this wins hands down every single time. In terms of proportions, angles, shapes, everything, that's definitive for me. So you're not necessarily going to find that exact thing in any sort of resin kit currently, but you'll get pretty damn close. So, let's see what else. Let's see. Freddie Torres says, I need to grab one of his resin kits. Oh, Calamities. Yeah, they look crazy. Space Rat 53. What's a good start for working with resin or doing conversion kits? I would probably start with resin add-on parts like weapons or something like that, or just simple dress-up kits, right? Side 3 makes beautiful dress-up kits, and all they do is they take the original parts, similar to what I do almost, and they just add detail and extra pizzazz to them, right? So I really, really like the look of those. I've never bought one, obviously, because I can do all that stuff myself. But that would be a great place to start with resin kits and to get your feet wet, right? Or buy like a recast. Recast kits are pretty inexpensive. You do have to be careful, though, because some recasts are absolute dog poo. So make sure you're buying from a reputable recast house. I can't remember the name of the one that I really like off the top of my head. Let me see if I can look it up here real quick for you guys. Let's see. GKM is the website that I really, really love. Their stuff is usually top-notch. It's www.shop2000.com.tw. I'm guessing they're a Taiwanese shop, but they have everything in US dollars and everything, and their prices are very respectable. And the quality is really quite good as well. They sell recasts of a lot of different things, from, things like just, conversion kits to full-on kits, to kits that you can't find anywhere else other than in resin, like the RX-124 Gundam, the Fiver 2, which is this massive mobile armor, and that's in 1/400 scale, and that's $125 shipped. So that's not bad, right? And they've got a ton of other kits on there. They've got figure kits, and they've got artistic kits. They've got other mech kits and stuff like that as well. Me personally, I'd probably start with like an SD or something like that if you wanted to really jump into the deep end. The SD kits are pretty simple, but you can get a better taste of what the resin, game will be. So, yeah. Let's see. Rika Asanohashi said he said he was going to sleep, so good night. Not in French. That sounds like drunkish, right? Holy shit. Okay, so let me read this to you guys here. Okay, so this is again is from Andrew. Naden okay Durser came now that bad. Fuck me, I don't know. I have no idea. Bailey says, hey, someone asked about rust effects on a kit here, and check out, yeah, Gizmo Kongumpla. His petite guy Junker, really good, really good. So check out Gizmo Kongumpla. That's Jonathan over there, one of those Gundam guys. Really, really well-skilled modeler. Astria Kai, English motherfucker, did you speak it? Oh, thank you guys. You guys are the best. Holy shit. Elliot, when you say cover the base in plastic, what plastic do you mean? Like plastic dip? No, actually, just normal plastic sheet. So like, just polystyrene. So styrene plastic sheet, plot plate, if you will. Now, you can get this on, Amazon. You can get it in a whole different ton of places. I get a ton of it from McMaster Car, and this is a big sheet. This is a 12 by 24 sheet that I got, and you can get bigger. You can get full on like 8 foot by 4 foot sheets of plastic, like plywood size sheets of plastic, up to like 1/4 inch thick. This here is, I think, 0.75 millimeters, and as you can see, I've been kind of nibbling away at it for years, right? So, yeah, and also, obviously, you can get the actual Tamiya plot plate, this stuff here. This is the 1 millimeter thick sheets, and these come in, what is this? This is a B4 size sheet, so that's 364 by 257 millimeter. Don't ask me what that is in the imperial sizes, because it doesn't have it on there, and I'm not going to sit here and convert it. But yeah, that's what I mean by plastic sheet, is styrene sheet. Like I said, you can get it on Amazon. I've got some links in the Amazon link below or on the side. McMaster Car is a great resource. You can get massive sheets, like I said, from them. You can go to places like Evergreen Plastics online and order sheets from them. They're a little bit more expensive, so I'd probably avoid them. But yeah, there are a ton of resources out there, a ton of vendors that sell plastic sheets, and you can just simply laminate that on top of wood or MDF, and then you can just go to town and work it like a model at that point. So that's what I do with all of my display bases. Let's see. RF Aurora is joining us. He says, hi all. Hello. Rundus J22 is with us. Hey, Tim. Just wondering how to use those posable hands that come with some master grades like the new Burka. I haven't finished that kit yet, but I'm scared I'm going to break those hands. You know what? Let's see. Where are they? Right here. The Jesta has the individual jointed hands, and they're not that bad, right? The Jestas are probably the worst of them all, from what I've heard. The Jesta's hands are definitely worse than the Sinanju Steins. Fun fact, they're the exact same hands. Exact same size, exact same architecture, dimension, width, everything. Same hands on the Jesta as it is on the Sinanju Stein. So that's interesting, right? But once you get these cut, and once you get the nubs trimmed on them, which will be the toughest part, I will not lie, because there's a ton of them on these little hands. After that, then just start to gently flex the individual digits, and be careful of where the fingers join to the actual palm itself. That can be a bit of a weak point, especially when you're first flexing those fingers. So just be careful of that. But other than that, I think these are really quite solid. The hands themselves are really nice because they have this little tab that folds out and it slots into the weapon, and then on the corresponding weapon, it actually slots in to the empty void. So there's basically like this kind of action, like a overlap, half lap, I guess is the woodworking term, style, kind of joining of those two pieces, and it holds the weapon just really solidly. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about these. It's the after party or the aftermarket third-party ones that I would probably worry a little bit more of. I would definitely be a little wary of using those, and if you do, treat them very, very gingerly. So, but I wouldn't worry about the Bandai ones. I've had nothing but good experiences with them so far. So, yeah. Let's see. Julius Dembski, what thickness is the plot plate you commonly use? Good question. So for plate itself, for styrene sheets, I will normally use either 0.25 or 0.3. I mean, it's virtually the same, right? 0.5 millimeter, 0.5, and then 1 millimeter. So say, for instance, for the Justa's shoulders, right? These two plates on front, these are 1 millimeter, and they're thick. 1 millimeter on a 1/100 scale or 1/44 scale is the thickness of the actual piece, the thickness of the wall of the actual piece. Sometimes it's even thicker, right? So you have to be very, very careful of using 1 millimeter thick plastic on these pieces, because that will add a bunch of real estate to the piece. It will add size to it, girth even. 0.5 millimeter, I think, is better for your normal added armor or details or things like that. It's not as pronounced. You can still bevel it down and really blend it in nicely. And then your 0.25 or 0.3 would be more for accent pieces, really small, minute details. Like on here, I've got these two little itty bitty pieces that you can hardly see. That is what is it? It's 0.25 millimeter thick, but it's 0.5 millimeter wide, so super small. So those are the thicknesses that I would normally use. They do come in much thicker plates than that, but man, those are going to be situational at best, and those are going to be normally for construction of things like if you're building a base, or if you're building up if you're making a building itself, right? Like a scale building for like a diorama or something, then you maybe want to use something a little thicker. But for most parts that we use, those are the three sizes that I would recommend. So, good question. Good question. Let's do a time check. 12:09. Wow, it's getting late. It's crazy. We've already gone 2 hours. I was worried we were having enough questions here tonight. I was honestly worried we wouldn't get through here without getting back to the bench or something like that. So that's awesome, you guys. Thank you very much. So with that being said, let's get this one wrapped up. Let's get into the weekend. Let's start to enjoy it, because I got a show to do tomorrow too. Gunpla Talk at 9 a.m. Eastern. Check out Zaku Aurelius's channel. He's got the listing already up. You can check your own local time, and we're just gonna be having some fun tomorrow, man. Josh is gonna be our master of ceremonies, and he's probably gonna put us up to some weird shenanigans. Who knows what's going to happen. So definitely watch tomorrow morning. That's in about 9 hours from now. So it'll be fun. With that being said, hey, don't forget to donate to the Gunpla Talk giveaway / fundraiser, and one lucky person will win that model. 6 others will win the little resin busts from Mr. Win I'm On, Paint Pusher, our good friend, and some other folks will probably win some really cool stuff from Ace Schultz there on YouTube, or Conateer on Facebook, the P-Bandai Polypod, some BMC chisels, and some other cool stuff that he's sending our way. So that'll be awesome. Big thanks to him and Win. If you guys want to pick up a Grim Reapers t-shirt, you can do so at the Child of Mecha store. Hit up childofmecha.com, hit the store at the top. You will be transported into a wonderland of Gundam products, t-shirts, hats, bags, stuff like that. So pick you up some. It's good stuff. $5 flat rate shipping to anywhere in the US and Canada. $10 every place else, no matter what you buy, right? Also, too, if you want to get one of these amazing, cheap-ass cutting mats, man, they're $9.90 on Amazon. Hit up the Amazon link below, or on the side on Facebook, a little bit later on Twitch. Check out the tools on there that I've sourced and all that good stuff for you. And then also check out the books that we review every night for inspirational purposes for your next project. And then check out the streaming stuff. If you want to get into streaming, there's a good bit of gear on there to help you do that, right? I think that's it, right? I don't know. I can't think of anything else. Yeah, I think we're done, you guys. That was a good one. I love this. This was good. This was a lot of fun. This was kind of in my element, just answering questions and just spouting knowledge. You know, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I liked it. I thought it was fun. Other than, you know, the weirdo on YouTube. Some people, man. Some people, right? So, cool. RF Aurora, I'll have my 3 shirts early next week. Sweet. That's awesome. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Let's see. Bailey says, I'll try to tune in on my phone tomorrow. Cool. That'll be awesome, dude. Awesome. All right, boys. Well, without further ado, thank you for watching the first Q&A show here on the Child of Mecha live stream. I'm your host, Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha. We're going to see you back here Monday. So have a great weekend, you guys. Be safe. Build something cool. I'll see you next week. Take care, guys.